Okay. Okay, I actually said 8 years into Mrs. Anderson and Jacob's marriage. That's
Yeah.
when Lisa and Jacob started first talking. And
Yeah. So
then
that's
after 3 months of knowing each other, that's when they started like hooking up and everything. Um,
okay.
and then they've been in this like side relationship, said for like 10 months now. It may be even shorter than that, but I don't really know. But that's
Yeah.
kind of the rough estimate that I came up with.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. And I think that Mrs. A is known for at least 2 months.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think, and like, and not allowed it to go on per se, but like knew that it was happening and was like, and like had to look like almost had to look at her playbook again, of like, okay, wait, what do I know? What did I do for the others? Can I do the same thing for her? I don't know. And then she like came up with this plan. Because I also think that there was some stalking, not like light, like casual stalking
Hmm.
going on Missy's part, like on my part. I had to be like, okay, so where do they meet? Like I had to put the pieces together in my head because then those were the pieces. The image that I talked to Paris about, like immediately after reading it before our first read last week, was that she's a spider, but she's like a very smart spider. So she had to like build her web, and then this interaction is the web. So yeah, that totally works.
I figured
Actually,
it would have to have been. Oh, sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Leia. It always happens. It always happens. You go, you go.
I figured it would have had to have been long enough that Lisa would have like been confident in the fact that Jacob would want to marry her. Like it couldn't be such a short amount of time that it would seem kind of weird if he would say, "I'll marry you," and like leave my wife and everything. Um, so that's why I said it's been like a few
Especially,
months.
yeah, especially for where we're putting her age wise. She's like in her mid to late 20s. If she
Hmm.
was 18, 4 months could have been enough. But because she is a little bit older, she is a little bit smarter, so on and so forth. Yeah, totally. I'm right there with you on that timeline. I think that's great.
Actually, I have a question for you. Do you think you and Jacob ever discuss like that he needs to let this one go, or like does he know that you know about all these affairs, or does he just suddenly his mistresses disappear? You know what I mean? I feel like you guys might have a discussion, but I'm interested to see what you think about that.
Well, that's kind of the next big chunk of, I guess, of the puzzle that we have to think about and decide on, because I don't know, because literally Jacob, other than his name, like other than an idea in terms of like diminishing the women, is only mentioned twice, and it's by Lisa, or yeah, it's by Lisa both times, but it doesn't tell us anything about who he is. But I think knowing what I know about Mrs. A, that she would have talked to him and been like, my guy, like for lack of better phrasing, like, my guy, what is up? You keep doing this. And that's based on the fact that her response is all of his shit's gonna be packed up.
Mhm.
Because if it wasn't like that, like clearly defined, like it's a very neat box. She says like neatly packed in boxes and in suitcases. It's not like full of rage and full of
No,
spite.
it's very
It's like this,
premeditated.
yeah, it's like this is where we're at. Like you, and I feel like that comes from a place of, I made myself known. You didn't listen to me. Your actions didn't change over the course of the 10 years we've been married slash in a relationship.
Mhm.
And it kept happening. And this straw. because I also was thinking about her like motivation for doing this. She doesn't want Lisa to leave so that she's already decided that she doesn't want Jacob anymore. She wants Lisa to leave for Lisa's sake. Like
For sure.
almost maternally, like I'm trying to protect you.
Mhm.
So I think so. I think the answer to your question is yes. They've talked. How extensively? Not a freaking.
Well, yeah, and we
But
can elaborate and find that as we go. Cool.
yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to touch on before we start the read? No? Good. I feel like that was some good things to hash out before we get started. So, all right. Well, if you guys are good to go, I'm going to start. All right. The next, Mrs. Jacob Anderson. As the lights come up, we see Lisa, a youngish woman wearing jeans. She is smiling, delighted with life. She examines tomatoes and cucumbers, stopping to stare dreamily off into space. Mrs. Jacob Anderson comes into the playing area, carrying a plastic sack of produce. She is a little older than Lisa. Both women are ordinary looking with ordinary bodies.
My, there's not much left here today.
Oh, I know.
A frown flits across her face. She studies Mrs. Anderson from the corner of her eye. Mrs. Anderson notices, but does not seem to mind.
They usually have such gorgeous cukes here.
Guess you have to get here early.
I think you're right.
Silence. Mrs. Anderson comes down front as if looking at the sky at the surrounding countryside.
I know you're fucking my husband.
Lisa goes very still, like a threatened spider. She does not know what to do. Mrs. Anderson continues to serenely gaze at the sky.
Isn't it a beautiful day? Not many left.
I think you have me confused with.
No, I don't.
Oh, this has been.
Yes, awkward. Stereotypical. Many things. He wants to divorce me and make you Mrs. Anderson, a woman without her own name.
You're Jacob's wife.
Yes, and that right there should make you run screaming. At first, I wanted to kill you. Not him. You. I imagined running you through all sorts of industrial machines.
He loves me. I'm sorry this hurts you.
Love is an anesthesia. It puts you to sleep. It allows you to overlook, not to question, not care. And then one day you come to. And by God and all his horny angels, it's an eye opener.
Look, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I'm not a bad person. I didn't want to fall in love, but I did. And we're happy. Is that what this is about? He said you'd.
Are you the next Mrs. Jacob Anderson?
Can't we be adult about this?
No. Adults are never honest. Let's be children. Let's throw rocks. Let's weep and say everything we actually think. But we won't.
Okay, look. He hasn't loved you for a long time. Don't you have any pride?
Tons of it, an ocean of it. Why don't you? Why do you love him? He says you can't find a job right now. He says you're so pretty and so nice. Nice. You're what every man wants a nice.
Mrs. Anderson smiles very gently at Lisa, beckons her closer. Lisa does not move.
Here we are, both picking out vegetables for the same man.
He's right. You are a bitch.
Yes, I suppose so. A bitch, a cunt, a twat. Why is it always bitch that stings? Oh, yes, that's right. It implies that I'm not as nice as I should be, that I've revealed too much of myself. Well, Lisa, is it? What a cheerleader sort of name. Do you cheerlead for him now? You tell him he's the best, the brightest, the bravest? I can see you doing it. With pom poms in your hands, little frippy skirt. You'd look nice in navy. I once had a name, but now it's bitch and second best. It's Mrs. Anderson. Why would you give up your name? Why would you let him erase it from your head with his acid? His sweet, numbing acid. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of everything.
Wow, that's some speech. Save it for group therapy sometime. Hey, don't.
Please, tell me why you love him. Tell me everything, and we never have to talk again. I'll step aside. I'll let you have him. I'll disappear. I'll be like an abortion in your lives. Something that never happened, something that was scraped into a pail.
Looks into Lisa's face, releases her, steps away.
Surely, if you love him, you won't mind facing your enemy. We can go somewhere else if you wish.
No, Harriman's Market is just fine. I I just tell you whatever and you go away, just like a big puff of smoke.
Sorry, I'm gonna
You
pause,
betcha.
guys.
You could
Pause right here. Sorry. Sorry when I missed some of the I'm trying to write notes for you guys while in the midst of trying to read the stage directions, which is why it sucks that Jacob's not here. But okay. So just so Becky, hi, you have some things to comment on me for. On page 3, when Ashley says, I imagined running you through all sorts of industrial machines, I think you would be more shocked at someone saying that about, putting your body into an industrial machine. Like, that's pretty shocking. And what's the word? Gory. That's the word I'm looking for. And it's quite a beat shift there when you say he loves me. I'm sorry this hurts you. It's such an interesting moment when she talks about killing you, and then you're just like, well, he loves me, so I'm sorry, like, this hurts you so much that you want to kill me. So I'd like to play around with that moment, maybe with a bit of more of a pause, or something like that. And then on page 4, when she says you are a bitch, I would like if that could sting a little bit more on you, Ashley. Because, I think you might expect her to say that, but I don't know if you expect her to mean it. And I think she really does in that moment. And I think that's the part that stings. Just kind of like we talked about our last rehearsal, about like, it's just something different. It hurts when a guy says it, but it's another when another woman, who's supposed to be with you, your sister, and then she calls you a bitch. Like, it's hard. But I did like your energy during the cheerleader little part. It actually reminded me of the song Cheerleader by What's His Face. Like, it just started going through my head. But I also, in that little, at the end of that monologue for you, when you say, I'll take care of you, I'll take care of everything, I definitely think that is you thinking back to an exact moment when Jacob looked at you and said that to you. And I would love to see that on your face. Like, of you going back to that exact moment.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Word. Yeah, so that's it. I think that's probably going to be about the right time for Becky. So I'm gonna stop the recording now.